He thought hunger was the problem. He didn't realize someone had taught her how to be hungry quietly. The kitchen lights were still on when Callahan Merrill walked in, not because anyone was cooking, but because a child was sitting on the floor, eating what had already been thrown away. She froze when she heard his footsteps. Didn't cry, didn't run, just lowered her eyes, like she already knew what being seen could cost. Behind her stood Delphine Reed, the maid, unable to speak. Not because she didn't have words, but because she knew this moment would decide everything. What Callahan didn't know yet was that this wasn't about food. It was about a rule someone had taught a 6-year-old girl, and what breaking that rule might destroy. And the question he was about to ask wasn't the one that mattered most. Before we continue, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let's dive back into the story. The kitchen gleamed under cold fluorescent lights as Delphine wiped down the marble countertops for the third time that evening. Mr. Callahan's dinner party had ended hours ago, but the evidence remained. Platters of untouched salmon, bowls of roasted vegetables gone cold, desserts barely touched. All of it destined for the industrial trash bins outside. Her hands moved mechanically, scraping perfectly good food into black garbage bags. The house rules were clear. Staff don't take food home. Mrs. Chun, the head housekeeper, had made that abundantly clear during orientation. Mr. Callahan is generous with wages, she'd said, her voice sharp as crystal. He expects boundaries in return. Delphine's stomach twisted as she watched the entire roasted chicken disappear into the waste. She thought of the meal she'd stretched this week. Rice and beans, rice and beans, rice and beans. But rules were rules, and she needed this job. A shadow flickered near the pantry door. Anya stood there, half hidden behind the doorframe, her small frame almost swallowed by the darkness. She didn't move forward, didn't speak. Just waited, like she'd learned exactly where the cameras couldn't see her. "Baby, what are you doing up?" Delphine kept her voice low, glancing toward the hallway where Mrs. Chin sometimes made late-night rounds. "Couldn't sleep." Anya's smile came too quick, too bright. "Just wanted to say good night." But Delphine saw the way her daughter's fingers trembled slightly, saw how her eyes tracked the movement of the garbage bag, following the scent of food like a compass finding north. Anya had been fine lately, too cheerful, too quiet, never asking for snacks between meals anymore. When had her daughter learned to stop asking? Delphine opened her arms, and Anya rushed into them. That's when she saw it. A tiny smear of brown gravy on Anya's sleeve, just above the wrist. Fresh, still glistening slightly under the lights. "Anya, where did this come from?" Her daughter's smile froze. Her eyes went wide, searching for an answer that wouldn't come. I don't. Some people don't leave because they don't care. They leave because the guilt gets heavy. Staying means seeing what comfort tries to hide. Some homes are clean because pain is taught to disappear. Delphine's heart hammered as realization crashed over her like ice water. The unexplained fullness, some evenings. The way Anya had stopped complaining about being hungry. The guilty glances when Delphine asked about her day. Anya had been eating somewhere in this house, without permission. But where? And what would happen if someone else found out first? Over the next 3 days, Delphine watched her daughter the way a detective watches a suspect, except her heart broke with every clue she found. Anya wasn't just hungry. She was calculating. Tuesday morning, Anya lingered by the kitchen door at exactly 6:47 a.m., 3 minutes before Mrs. Chun arrived to prep breakfast. Wednesday afternoon, she asked to use the bathroom at 2:15 p.m., right when the staff took their mandated break. Thursday evening, she volunteered to help carry laundry upstairs, but her eyes kept darting toward the service hallway, toward the spaces between the walls where the family never looked. She wasn't moving through the house. She was hunting through it. And she kept checking, always checking, over her shoulder, down hallways, listening for footsteps like prey listening for predators. Friday morning, Delphine found a napkin. It was folded into a tiny square, tucked deep in Anya's jacket pocket. White linen, embroidered with the Merrow family crest in gold thread. The kind of napkin that cost more than their weekly groceries. "Where did you get this?" Delphine's voice came out sharper than she intended. "I found it." Anya's answer shot out like a reflex, too quick, too rehearsed. "On the floor. I was going to put it back." But her eyes said something else entirely. That night, alone in their shared room in the staff quarters, Anya lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Hunger wasn't loud anymore. It used to roar, used to make her stomach twist and her head spin. But now it was different. Now it was a quiet animal she'd learned to keep calm. She'd learned its schedule, its patterns. She knew exactly when it would wake up and exactly how to feed it, just enough to make it sleep again. She'd learned to move through the mansion like a ghost, invisible and silent. She'd learned which floorboards creaked and which doors squeaked. She'd learned to chew without sound, to swallow without breathing, to exist without taking up space. This wasn't just poverty. This was shame training. Her mother worked so hard, smiled through exhaustion, never complained. Anya couldn't be the reason Mama lost this job. Couldn't be the reason they ended up back on the street, back in the shelter where the lights never turned off and strangers coughed through the night. So she learned the rules. Rules Mama never taught her, but rules the world whispered loud and clear. "If they hear me chew, we're done." Delphine stood outside their door, hand frozen on the doorknob, those whispered words echoing in her mind. Children don't hide food first. They hide their hope. Her daughter wasn't just surviving. She was disappearing. And somewhere in this house of plenty, Anya was stealing food like a criminal, while tons of it rotted in the garbage every single night. But where was she eating? And who, if anyone, already knew? Delphine approached Maria, the sous chef, during the morning lull between breakfast service and lunch prep. She kept her voice casual, like, "Hey, have you noticed any? I don't know, food going missing? Like leftovers or anything." Maria's hand stopped mid-chop. Her eyes flicked toward the security camera in the corner, then back to her cutting board. "I don't notice things that aren't my business." The words came out flat, final. She didn't look up again. The kitchen went silent except for the rhythmic thud of Maria's knife against wood, a warning beat that said conversation over. Delphine's chest tightened. She'd worked here 3 months and thought she'd made friends. But friendship, apparently, had limits when jobs were on the line. "Mrs. Delphine." The voice came from behind her, smooth and cold as polished steel. Rowan Havelock, the estate manager, stood in the doorway with his tablet and his perfectly tailored suit. Everything about him was sharp. His jawline, his gaze, his tone. A word. "Now." He led her to his office, a sterile room with glass walls that let him see everything while revealing nothing. He didn't sit, didn't invite her to. "This house doesn't run on feelings, Mrs. Delphine. It runs on structure, order, clear boundaries." He paused, letting each word land like a stone. "I've noticed you've been distracted lately, asking questions. Your daughter has been wandering areas she shouldn't." "She's just curious. She's a child." "She's a staff child. There's a difference." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Callahan is generous to allow staff families on the estate, but that generosity requires discretion, compliance, invisible gratitude. Not every cruelty looks like violence. Some looks like policy." That afternoon, Mr. Callahan himself appeared in the main hall while Delphine was polishing the banisters. He moved like winter, expensive suit, colder demeanor. He didn't acknowledge her at first, just examined his reflection in the polished wood, checking for imperfections. Delphine. He said her name like it was a line item on a budget. My home runs on standards. Excellence. Precision. I notice when those standards slip. His eyes finally met hers. I notice everything. The threat was clear even if the words stayed polite. Yes, sir. Of course, sir. He walked away without another word, leaving her standing there with her heart hammering and her hands shaking. Later that evening, while restocking supplies in the staff break room, Delphine saw it. A typed notice, freshly laminated and hung beside the schedule board. Updated estate policy, effective immediately. No staff children permitted in kitchen, pantry, or private dining areas. Violation results in immediate termination, no exceptions. Her blood ran cold. Someone knew. Someone was watching, and they were tightening the noose. She rushed to their quarters, needing to see Anya, needing to know she was safe. But when she arrived, Anya wasn't there. Her jacket was gone. Her shoes were gone. Delphine's hands trembled as she checked the closet, under the bed, anywhere Anya might hide food. Nothing. No crumbs, no wrappers, no evidence. Which meant Anya had been taking food from somewhere else entirely. Somewhere Delphine couldn't access. Somewhere with rules even stricter than the kitchen. Somewhere in the private wing of the house, Mr. Callahan's domain. And if Rowan Havelock found out first, they wouldn't just lose the job. They'd lose everything. Delphine found Anya sitting on the edge of their shared bed, knees pulled to her chest, eyes red from crying she'd tried to hide. The dim lamp cast long shadows across their tiny room, a room that was generous by staff standards, but still felt like a cage when fear filled it. Baby. Delphine sat beside her, close but not touching, giving Anya space to breathe. I need you to tell me the truth. All of it. No more hiding. Anya's lip trembled. She opened her mouth twice before words finally came. I see you, Mama. I see how tired you are. How your hands shake after your shifts. How you skip lunch so I can have dinner. Her voice cracked. You work so hard. So hard. And I couldn't keep taking food from you when there's so much here. So much they just throw away. The dam broke. Tears streamed down Anya's face. I thought if I could just feed myself, you could finally rest. You could finally stop carrying everything alone. Delphine pulled her daughter into her arms, her own tears falling silent and hot. Oh, baby. Oh, my sweet girl. Delphine was 9 years old again, standing in the principal's office, stomach hollow, while they called her mother about the free lunch application. Standing in the food bank line, eyes down, while neighbors pretended not to see. Standing outside their apartment, with all their belongings in garbage bags, because the eviction notice had finally come due. She remembered the weight of other people's pity, the sting of charity that came with judgment attached, the way hunger taught you to shrink, to apologize for needing, to believe that wanting food made you less human. She'd sworn, her daughter would never know that shame. And yet here they were. Anya, listen to me. Delphine held her daughter's face in her hands. You are not responsible for feeding yourself. You are not responsible for me. That's not how this works. That's not how love works. But Mama. No. Firm but gentle. I will fix this. I promise you I will fix this. But even as she said it, the trap closed tighter around her chest. If she stopped Anya from sneaking food, her daughter would starve quietly, and Delphine would watch her fade. If she didn't stop her, if she let it continue, they'd both be discovered. They'd lose the job, the room, the fragile stability they'd clawed their way toward. Helping Anya openly could get Anya taken away by child services, or get Delphine fired for violating house rules. Either way, they'd end up worse than before. There was no clean option, no safe path, only impossible choices wrapped in fear. People who leave now will never know if Delphine protected her child, or lost her for trying. Provision doesn't always arrive as money. Sometimes it arrives as courage. Delphine took a shaky breath. "Baby, I need you to tell me exactly where you've been getting the food. Every detail. Who sees you? What rooms? What time?" Anya wiped her eyes, hesitated, then whispered words that made Delphine's blood freeze. "Someone told me where to find it, Mama. Someone showed me the door that's always unlocked. Someone left notes telling me when it was safe." Delphine's heart stopped. "What? Who? Who told you?" "I don't know. The notes aren't signed. But Mama, someone in this house has been helping me. And I think they're watching to see what you'll do next." The kitchen was tomb silent at 2:47 a.m. Cold moonlight spilled through the tall windows, turning marble countertops into slabs of ice. The only sound was the soft scrape of a fork against porcelain. Anya sat on the floor near the pantry door. Her pink dress, the only nice thing she owned, pooled around her like wilted petals. In her lap was a plate, and on that plate were the remnants of someone's dinner. Roasted vegetables, a piece of salmon, potatoes still warm. She ate slowly, methodically, like someone who'd learned to make small portions last. Her back was to the door. She didn't hear Delphine approach. "Anya." The girl froze, fork halfway to her mouth. She turned slowly, eyes wide with terror that no child should know how to feel. Delphine stood in the doorway, caught between fury and heartbreak, between the need to scream and the need to gather her daughter and run. Her mouth opened, but no words came, only the sound of her own ragged breathing. Then footsteps, measured, unhurried, coming from the service hallway. Victor Callahan stepped into the kitchen, still dressed in his evening clothes, clearly returning from some late function. He stopped when he saw them, his eyes moving from Delphine to the child on the floor, to the plate in her hands, to the crumbs on her dress. His face didn't twist with rage, didn't soften with pity. It simply hardened, like he was watching something impossible, something that violated the fundamental order of his carefully constructed world. The house itself had betrayed him. Delphine moved before thinking, stepping between Callahan and Anya, arms spread wide like she could shield her daughter from a gaze that saw everything. "Mr. Callahan, He raised one hand. Silence felt like a guillotine blade. "Who taught her to do this?" His voice was chillingly calm. No shouting, no accusations, just a question delivered with surgical precision. "Sir, I can explain." "Who taught her?" He stepped closer, and now Delphine could see something shifting in his expression. Not anger, but calculation, investigation. A child doesn't learn to navigate a house like this alone. Doesn't know the staff schedules, the camera blind spots, the timing of security rounds. His eyes narrowed. Someone helped her. He looked down at the plate still clutched in Anya's trembling hands. His jaw tightened. "That's Limoges. Royal blue pattern. That china only goes to the East Wing, the private guest suites." His eyes snapped up to Delphine's. "Those rooms are locked. Those meals are prepared separately. How did she access them?" "Sometimes the moment you're seen is the moment you're most in danger." Delphine's mind raced. The notes, the unlocked doors. Someone had been helping Anya, but who? And why? Was this a trap? A test? Some sick game played by board staff members? Callahan's expression remained unreadable. He didn't yell, didn't threaten, didn't immediately fire her. Instead, He pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked at Delphine with eyes that revealed nothing. Bring me the kitchen logs. Every entry and exit for the past 2 weeks. Security footage from the service corridors. Staff schedules. He paused, and the names of everyone who has access to the East Wing. He turned to leave, stopped at the doorway, and spoke without looking back. Don't let her move. Don't touch anything. And Delphine. Yes, sir. You're not fired. Not yet. But someone in my house has been lying to me, and I'm going to find out who. The door closed behind him with a whisper. Delphine sank to the floor beside Anya, pulling her daughter close. They sat there in the cold moonlight, surrounded by wealth they'd never touch, holding each other like shipwreck survivors. Someone had set them up, or saved them, or both, and Victor Callahan was hunting for answers. For 3 days, Victor Callahan moved through his estate like a specter, conducting an autopsy. He requested files, reviewed footage, interviewed staff one by one in his study, each session lasting exactly 12 minutes, no more, no less. He never raised his voice, never explained what he was looking for, and that silence was more terrifying than any accusation. Delphine scrubbed floors she'd already cleaned twice, her hands raw, her mind racing. Every footstep in the hallway made her flinch. Every closed door felt like a verdict being written behind it. On the second day, Rowan Havelock cornered her in the linen closet. He's building a case. Rowan's voice was low, urgent. Against someone. I don't know who yet, but he's methodical. He doesn't investigate unless he intends to destroy. He leaned closer. If I were you, I'd start packing. Quietly, before he makes an example of you. I haven't done anything wrong. Haven't you? Rowan's eyes were cold. Your daughter was eating from private guest plates. Plates that require 3 separate key cards to access. You think that looks like innocent hunger? It looks like conspiracy. He walked away, leaving her standing there with her stomach in knots. Anya stopped eating again. Not gradually, immediately. She pushed away breakfast, claimed she wasn't hungry at lunch, pretended to sleep through dinner. When Delphine tried to force the issue, Anya's eyes filled with tears. It's my fault, Mama. I got seen. I ruined everything. Her voice was small, broken. If I just stay quiet enough, maybe he'll forget. Maybe he'll let us stay. She was 9 years old and already believed her existence was negotiable. Delphine held her daughter while rage and helplessness warred in her chest. This was supposed to be their fresh start, their escape from shelters and food banks and the grinding humiliation of poverty. But instead, they traded one cage for another. This one just had nicer bars. The help Delphine had wanted, the stability, the steady paycheck, the roof over their heads, was destroying them from the inside out. She looked around their tiny room, the narrow bed they shared, the single window overlooking the service entrance, the small bag she'd never fully unpacked because some part of her always knew they'd have to run again. Keeping Anya safe might mean leaving with nothing. Again. Starting over. Again. Shelters. Waiting lists. Job applications that went nowhere. Watching her daughter's hope dim a little more each day. But staying might mean watching Anya learn to disappear completely. Learn that her hunger was shameful. That her needs were burdens. That survival required making herself invisible. Grace often arrives looking like loss. On the 3rd evening, Delphine was summoned to Callahan's study. She walked the long hallway with her heart hammering, prepared for termination papers, for police, for whatever punishment wealth decided poverty deserved. But when she entered, Callahan wasn't looking at her. He was standing at his window, hands clasped behind his back, staring out at the manicured grounds. On his desk lay a folder. Closed. Sit. he said without turning. She sat. He finally turned to face her, and his expression was unreadable. Not angry, not sympathetic. Something else entirely. Something calculating. "I've been asking the wrong questions," he said quietly. "For 3 days, I've been trying to understand how your daughter accessed restricted areas. Who gave her keys? Who left doors unlocked? Who placed food where she could find it?" He opened the folder. Inside were photographs, security stills of Anya in hallways, timestamps, movement patterns. But the real question isn't, is she hungry? The real question is, who decided she should be? Delphine's breath caught. Callahan's eyes locked onto hers. "Someone in my house has been running an experiment, and I need to know if you were part of it, or if you were the test subject." The folder remained open between them, full of secrets neither of them had asked for. And somewhere in this house, someone was watching to see what would break first, Delphine's silence or Callahan's control. Callahan placed a second folder on the desk. This one was thicker, filled with spreadsheets, inventory logs, and highlighted discrepancies that told a story Delphine hadn't known existed. The kitchen waste logs show 30% more food disposal than what actually left the property. His finger traced a column of numbers. For 6 weeks, someone has been marking perfectly good food as spoiled or contaminated, logging it for disposal, but redirecting it to a storage pantry in the East Wing basement. Delphine's hands gripped the armrests. "I don't understand. Someone has been curating your daughter's hunger." His voice was eerily calm, choosing what she finds, when she finds it, where she finds it. The notes telling her when to move, the unlocked doors, the specific plates. He looked up. This wasn't random scavenging. This was orchestrated. But why? Who would? That's what I'm still determining. He closed the folder with deliberate care. "But what I know is this. Someone in my house has been teaching your daughter that survival requires secrecy, shame, and theft. They've been managing her desperation like a social experiment." The weight of it crashed over Delphine. Someone had been watching Anya suffer, watching her learn to hide, watching a child develop survival skills she should never need. Callahan stood, walked to his door, and locked it. When he returned to his desk, something in his posture had shifted. Less interrogator, more something she couldn't quite name. "I'm making changes. Effective immediately." His tone was matter-of-fact, businesslike. "Your daughter will be fed. Properly. 3 meals daily, plus snacks. Prepared separately. Delivered to your quarters. No questions asked. No strings attached. No staff gossip." Delphine's throat tightened. "Mr. Callahan, I can't accept. It's not a gift. It's a correction." He met her eyes. A child shouldn't have to steal food in a house with 17 refrigerators. He pulled out a piece of estate letterhead, handwritten, not typed, not delegated, personal. "This authorizes meal provisions for you and Anya. Rowan doesn't see this. Mrs. Chin doesn't see this. It goes through my private kitchen, handled by someone I trust. You will not be punished. You will not be monitored. You will not be shamed." He slid the paper across the desk. Delphine stared at it, her vision blurring. Relief should have flooded through her. Gratitude. Joy. Instead, she felt watched. Like this safety was a microscope slide, and she and Anya were specimens being observed for future conclusions. This wasn't chance. This wasn't skill. This felt like mercy. But mercy from whom? And why now? And what would be expected in return? Callahan walked to the window again, his silhouette dark against the evening light. "I can fix the house," he said quietly, almost to himself. "I can change policies, fire people, redistribute resources, install better systems." He turned slightly, just enough for her to see his profile. I can fix the house. I can't fix what it taught her. The words landed like stones in still water. Your daughter learned to be invisible, learned that her needs are shameful, learned that survival means silence. His jaw tightened. That doesn't disappear because she suddenly has food. That stays. Delphine's chest ached. He was right. Even now, Anya barely spoke above a whisper, still checked over her shoulder, still apologized for existing. Give her time, Delphine whispered. She's strong. She'll heal. Maybe. Callahan's voice was distant. Or maybe she'll just learn better hiding places. As Delphine stood to leave, folder and authorization letter in hand, Callahan spoke one more time. Delphine, the person responsible for this, the food redirection, the notes, the orchestration. He paused, and something dark crossed his face. The authorization codes used to access those storage areas trace back to override permissions. Administrative level. Her blood went cold. What does that mean? It means whoever did this didn't just have access to my house. They had access to my systems, my protocols. His eyes met hers, and for the first time, she saw something like uncertainty in them. The trail doesn't lead to staff. It leads to decisions I made, policies I approved, systems I designed. The silence stretched between them, heavy, suffocating. Someone had weaponized Callahan's own structure against a hungry child, and the architect of that structure was staring at his own blueprints, realizing what he'd built. The estate manager's office was empty by Thursday morning. No dramatic confrontation, no staff meeting. Rowan Havelock simply disappeared, his nameplate removed, his files boxed, his access codes deactivated. The official story, delivered via a terse email from HR, cited policy restructuring and strategic realignment. No one asked questions. No one asked questions. In houses like this, people learned early that curiosity was a luxury staff couldn't afford. Delphine heard whispers in the laundry room, speculation about severance packages, non-disclosure agreements, the kind of quiet exits that wealth purchased to avoid scandal. She didn't participate, didn't need to know the details. She only needed to know that the orchestrator of her daughter's suffering was gone. But gone didn't mean healed. Gone didn't erase the weeks Anya had learned to hunt through a mansion like prey. Gone didn't restore innocence already traded for survival. Trust didn't return instantly. Delphine still woke at 2 a.m. to check that Anya was breathing. Still counted the meals her daughter actually finished. Still watched for the telltale signs, the darting eyes, the checking over shoulders, the instinct to hide food just in case. The authorization letter Callahan had given her felt like a fragile shield. Official but temporary. Real but revocable. Safety on paper, anxiety in practice. She was employed. They had food. They had shelter. But she'd learned what this house could do when you forgot your place. 3 weeks after that night in the kitchen, Delphine was summoned to the small dining room off the main kitchen, a space usually reserved for senior staff meetings. When she arrived, she found a table set for 3. Callahan stood near the window. Anya sat at the table, hands folded in her lap, eyes wide with cautious confusion. "Sit," Callahan said simply. Delphine sat beside her daughter. A moment later, kitchen staff brought out plates, real food, not leftovers. Roasted chicken, fresh vegetables, warm bread, a small dessert. Placed in front of Anya first. Anya stared at the plate like it might vanish if she blinked. "Eat," Callahan said quietly. Not an order, an invitation. Slowly, like someone relearning a forgotten language, Anya picked up her fork. She took one bite, then another. Her shoulders gradually lowered. Her breathing steadied. She didn't scarf the food down in desperate gulps. Didn't check the door for witnesses. She ate at a table. Like a person. Like someone who had permission to exist. Delphine's throat closed. Her vision blurred. This was what dignity looked like when it returned. After Anya finished, every bite, at her own pace, Callahan finally spoke. "I need to say something." He looked directly at Delphine, then at Anya. "I built this house to be perfect, efficient, controlled. Every system designed to eliminate waste, maximize productivity, maintain standards." His jaw tightened. What I didn't see was that perfection leaves no room for humanity. That efficiency can become cruelty when it forgets people aren't resources to be managed. He paused, and something genuine, something raw, entered his voice. "I built a structure that taught a child she had to steal food to survive. That's not excellence. That's failure. And that failure is mine." Anya looked up at him, fork still in hand, surprise replacing fear. "You didn't do anything wrong, Anya," he continued. "Not one thing. You survived the only way you knew how. The wrong was done to you. By systems. By policies. By a house that valued appearance over compassion." He turned to Delphine. "By me." The silence that followed wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. 2 months later, Delphine stood in the doorway of the small staff dining room, watching Anya eat lunch with 2 other staff children who'd recently arrived. They laughed, shared food, didn't flinch when adults walked by. Anya still ate carefully, still finished every bite, still never wasted anything. Some lessons ran too deep to unlearn quickly, but she didn't hide anymore, didn't whisper, didn't apologize for being hungry. She was relearning dignity. Slowly, guarded, but relearning. Delphine realized she was holding her breath, waiting for the moment to shatter, waiting for the inevitable loss, the cruel twist, the reminder that safety for people like them was always conditional. But the moment didn't shatter. It simply continued. No parade, no celebration, no viral story of the generous billionaire who saved the maid's daughter. Just a child eating at a table. Just a mother breathing a little easier. Just a man who'd recognized his own complicity and chosen, quietly, to change. Some people only watch for the payoff. Others stay because children like Anya don't get seen unless someone refuses to look away. Not every miracle makes noise. Some simply return what was taken quietly. Delphine let out the breath she'd been holding, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, they'd finally found a place where survival didn't require invisibility, where her daughter could exist without shame, where food on a plate meant more than nutrition, it meant belonging. The house was still imperfect. Trust was still fragile. The future was still uncertain. But today, Anya ate without fear. And sometimes, that's what grace looks like when it arrives.